We're live. It's the Revved Up 906 podcast, a Detroit Pistons podcast to be exact. And I'm Hudson.
And I'm Ryan.
And I got two things I want to talk about before we get into today's recap against the Milwaukee Bucks. Shout out to my grandma Sharon. She watches every single video. So I know you're watching this, Grandma. Thanks for watching it and being a big supporter. We appreciate you. Ryan, say thank you to my grandma.
Thank you.
There you go. Thanks, Ryan. Also, you might see some Revved Up merch in this video. Ryan's got that sweatshirt. Show off the sweatshirt, Ryan.
There you go.
Yep, and this hat. So we will be wearing this in our Detroit vlog. This will be our next drop. So we're just teasing it. If anyone's interested, it will be coming eventually. Don't worry. Don't be running to our website or anything. It's not up yet. But if you do want to get our link to our current and first merch drop, you can go into our YouTube bio or in the description of this YouTube video and have a link directly to that site. Shout out Grind Clothing Co. That is our first sponsor that is taking care of our clothing. So, and Ryan's also the owner of Grind Clothing Co. So thank you, Ryan. I appreciate that. So let's get into today's recap, Revved Up recap. The final score of today's game was 150, the Milwaukee Bucks, to 130, the Detroit Pistons. This one was difficult to watch in the first half. It got a little bit better in the fourth quarter. What is some of your first takeaways, Ryan?
It seemed like we were tired. And when I say tired, credit to Greg Kelser. He mentioned this post game. He believes that we were I guess you could say jet lagged a little bit, meaning like we were not used to the change because think about it. We played a very, very tough schedule and a multiple back-to-backs heading into the Paris game. And then we had like 4 or 5 days off and then the game, and there was a huge time difference. And then you have a couple more days there and then you fly back. And then now you have to get readjusted with our actual time zone. So it's just different. And you could see from tonight, mentally, we were there. Physically, we weren't. We were just tired because there's no way we're giving up 49 points in the first quarter. That's not normal. And so I believe, and to Greg's point, I think we were tired. I think we were jet lagged and we just needed to get readjusted.
Yeah. I was looking on social media. A lot of blame was getting hurled towards Dwayne Casey. A lot of scrutinizing in the way that they're saying that he can't motivate our young team. You know, yes, he's not like the Dan Campbell for the Detroit Lions, right? He's not the best fire up speech coach. But I just think that's kind of unfair. The Pistons really haven't had a rough game like this energy wise. In a couple months probably where they just seemed sluggish. Most nights they'll get blown out every once in a while, but they look like they're still competing.
Yep.
I like that point that you made, Ryan, because they did just kind of seem sluggish, that they just weren't getting up the floor like they typically do. We didn't see Jaden Ivey going on a bunch of fast breaks like we typically see him do. So I definitely get that point. I don't think Casey is necessarily to blame necessarily, just because I think it comes down to the players to motivate each other when it comes to on the court. I think early in that first quarter, Sadiq Bey, that's why I feel like the Pistons do need a vocal leader, because I just don't really see guys calling each other out, especially on a night that Killian Hayes is out, Isaiah Stewart's out. Typically, if anyone's going to speak up, it's usually Isaiah Stewart. And when you're missing a vocal leader like that, I'm not shocked a game ended like this.
Yeah, and we were actually without facilitators tonight, really, because without Killian and Cade, I mean, we've had Cade out for the whole season now, but without Killian, who's been the main guy handling the ball, it's kind of hard to recuperate and try and focus an offense around certain players. Jaden, he's a great point guard. He's a great guard in general, but this season alone with Killian, he's had to play off ball. He hasn't been the point guard. So I think in the sense of him not being used to being the point guard with this current roster, it's more of like, oh shoot, I got to do that. I got to be better at that. There's more pressure on him. And
Right.
so, yeah, he had a solid game. I'm not complaining with his stats. He had a double-double. It's his fourth of the season, but it still wasn't like, whoa, that was Jaden Ivey. But that
Right.
goes back to the point of they were just tired. Like Dwayne Casey took out all the starters after the first quarter because they were playing that bad.
Yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
just mainly because they were tired.
Yeah. I mean, tonight the Pistons overall in all 4 quarters shot 50% from the field. That's a recipe for success. But when the Milwaukee Bucks, on the other hand, shot 56% from the field, I mean, yeah, 6 digits doesn't seem like a whole lot, but in 4 quarters, that's several more buckets. One performance that we can take a positive from was Jalen Duren, career
Yep.
high of 23 points, 15 rebounds, 9 for 13 shooting. Honestly, I think that's kind of where we want Jalen Duren every night. I think if he was averaging that, we would be more than happy with that.
Yeah, and Duren played great given when Brook Lopez and Giannis were in the game. He
Yeah.
he only had 2 fouls the entire game. Like that's really good against Giannis and Brook Lopez who draw fouls constantly all the time. And
And dude,
so,
that's a tough duo, by the
yeah,
way.
it
That
is.
is a very physical duo.
Yeah. And Giannis was just dominant in the first quarter alone. He had 20 points pretty much in the first quarter. He had half
Right.
the team's points in the first quarter. So Giannis, he was probable going into tonight's game, but he clearly showed like he's perfectly fine. And Chris Middleton wasn't he was also probable and he hasn't been playing a lot recently.
Yeah.
But he played tonight and he played very efficiently given his amount of time playing. So this Bucks team is just different. It's a deep playoff team. So the fact that we still scored 130, granted, the majority of the second half was against their bench, we still scored 130 against a really deep team.
Yeah. And they're known for being very brick solid on the defensive end. They're not
Yeah.
known for their defense, but they're known for being consistent and tough. Giannis did not look like he came off a 5 game. He was out the last 5 games,
Yep.
and tonight his first game back, 29 points, 4 assists, 12 rebounds, 8 of 15 shooting on only 26 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, he looks like he might be having another MVP season if he can stay healthy the remainder of this season. But I mean, he is just what a talent.
Yeah, but you look at our team when you have Bogey dropping 33, I am taking that. I would
Absolutely.
I would have I would have liked to see his assist numbers up. He had none. I think that was another takeaway into why we might have looked a little sluggish in the sense that we weren't passing the ball a lot. Ivy had the 11 assists, but it was pretty much just him, and then there was Corey Joseph with 7. Otherwise, nobody was really passing the ball all that much,
Yeah.
and it really dampers the offense and what we could do.
Yeah, for sure. Tonight we allowed the most points in the game, 150, the most points we've allowed in a game since 1988.
Yep.
I mean that really hurts. Also, a thing I wanted to point out that really doesn't have to do with the game, but what is with Flava Flav being at every single Detroit Pistons game?
I don't know.
Is he from Michigan? I feel like he must be if he's at
Yeah,
every Pistons game.
I can't think off the top of my head.
Also, I can't think of a song he's created, but he's like pretty famous.
Yeah.
But Flava Flav, shout out Flava Flav. I guess he's a Detroit Pistons fan. I'll take it, I guess.
Yeah. But I have another point here.
Yeah.
With a game like tonight, without having Killian, I understand that you have Jared Roden on a two-way deal, and he was playing tonight in the G League against the Wisconsin Herd. But when you have Killian out, I see that as an opportunity to bring him
Yeah.
up and
Yeah.
get him minutes. Granted, his stat line tonight for the Motor City Cruise, I believe he had 7 points and 10 rebounds. Let me see here.
And how many minutes too, if you can find that.
It doesn't list minutes, but
Okay.
he had 7 points, 11 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal. Like
Right.
that's solid. It's not anything special. I think he'd be more efficient in the NBA than the G League. But other than him, like I was watching that game a little bit here and there, and the point guard, Kiefer Sykes, he had a very solid game, 22 points, 14 assists. And so when you have Killian out or like any of your point guards out, I would say look at your G League team. Bring one of those guys up and see what they can do and fill in for a missing piece.
Yeah, I totally agree. Fun fact about Kiefer Sykes, he's actually his alma mater is UWGB, University of Wisconsin Green Bay. So he actually went to school only about like 3 hours away from us. So I went and watched him while he was playing there, and he was so fun to watch. He was real fun. One of the last points I want to make about tonight's game is the Pistons allowed 83 points at the half. Something I'm addressing before our next game, and I'm not sure who we're playing, is defense. Get Ben Wallace in the Henry Ford Detroit Pistons Performance Center. Get him in that building. And honestly, I would just kind of have Ben Wallace have one practice. Be like, hey, Ben, come in next Thursday. We'll give you 3 days to prepare what you would like to prepare. Come in, and we're just going to let you take the practice and just talk defense all day.
Yeah.
I would love that. And if I'm Dwayne Casey, I'd be like, hey, I'm just going to take the day off. I'm going to go to the spa at the Henry Ford system. Like, just let me do my thing and let Ben Wallace take over for a day and just let him preach defense, because that's really proving to be something that is translating into losses is our defense. Because like we were saying, 130 points from the Pistons is not bad. That will win you games, but not when you're allowing 150.
Yeah. And this team, there was a point in the game where Giannis was going down, clearly going to the rim, and Bogey just kind of bumps him. And it was, it was intentional, but it was like, it seems like Bogey was trying to send a message of, hey, we're tired of this. Please stop doing this to us. But it's lackadaisical. It leads to Milwaukee getting more chances at the line and more opportunities offensively, and that limits us on defense.
Right. I totally get it. Any last points before we wrap up today's episode?
Sadiq Bey had a great game.
Right.
Isaiah Livers, even though 22 minutes, still had 9 points.
Yeah.
We shot pretty well at the free throw line tonight, and that's one of my takeaways.
Yeah, that doesn't happen every night either when you're the Pistons. It's nice because that was something I challenged them about a couple of weeks ago was, hey, you got to make your free throws. And it's something that it does seem like it's been addressed and that they are working on it. Before we wrap up today's Revved Up recaps, I wanted to give 2 more quick shout outs. Me and Ryan will be taking a trip to Detroit February 4th and 5th for the Charlotte Hornets and the Phoenix Suns back-to-back games in Detroit at Little Caesars Arena. Check us out. We will be having vlogs coming of us gallivanting around Detroit. You can be on the watch out for that. And then also don't forget about our merch. We have sweatshirts, t-shirts, crop tops for ladies and guys, where we have all sizes available. You can find the link in our bio and in the description of this video. And once again, shout out Grind Clothing Co., our merch sponsor. So we appreciate Grind Clothing Co. We will see you guys in the next Revved Up recap.